So I'm Patricia Sullivan. I'm with New Mexico State University, and I'm Associate Dean for the College of Engineering. And I also have a joint appointment with the Vice President for Research, where I oversee strategic initiatives and workforce development. Really wanted to talk a little about the overview of what we're doing in the energy and at the nexus of energy and water. A lot of people talk about collaboration. We have gatherings. We think we're going to collaborate, and then we go back and we do our jobs. And the jobs are what we're paid to do. We're tasked with this particular project or this grant. I think what's changing now that's inspiring us to and encouraging us to collaborate is the way the federal government has directed the funding. And we all know our work follows our funding. What's really changed is the community benefits plan, the engagement of collaboration. And then at the state level, you have the Technology Enhancement Fund and you have the Matching Fund that was mentioned earlier this morning. And I think what that's done is it's given us permission and given us the opportunity to work together in a more strategic manner. And it doesn't treat the work we do in a collaborative nature as a side job or as a hobby or something we do after work. It's really part of the work we do. And some of the things that I think are examples of that are some of the projects that were mentioned on the previous slides. But you have projects coming out of DOE, the GRIP grant. It's around grid resiliency programming. You've got 2 electric co-ops in the state that collectively were awarded over $36 million. They're working directly with the universities. How do they look at their grid infrastructure? How do they engage their communities? How do they look at integration of renewables? How do they look at energy storage? What does that energy storage look like? They're reaching out to the national labs for assistance. These are co-ops in northern New Mexico that would not have been competitive going after these projects alone. So having the access to the national labs and the universities has made them competitive for some very transformational funding in the state. You have other projects going on in terms of carbon management, carbon sequestration, carbon capture storage. New Mexico Tech is leading some of that, but New Mexico State and UNM are also actively involved in different aspects of those things. You have a lot of work around geothermal. New Mexico Tech led some of that, but that was a collaborative effort with New Mexico State and UNM and even some of the community colleges and regional colleges from a workforce development standpoint. So what we're starting to see now is intentionality in our work, and it's a matter of, it's not that we're treating it as a side conversation. It's now part of the core of what we do because the funding is aligned with those missions. One initiative that we're involved with, Dr. Dunbar and I, is a National Science Foundation. It's an innovation engine that would, if awarded, bring about $160 million to the state of New Mexico in the Permian Basin. A lot of our focus has been around bringing collective partnerships with national labs, community colleges, and the research institutions to look at the varied issues impacting the Permian Basin around advanced energy future and what does that look like. It's really looking at a net zero, but net zero means you've got a balance between different sides of the energy equation. So we're looking at all aspects of it, including when I think our colleague brought up the nuclear. You've got issues involving nuclear. Where does that fit in? Los Alamos is one of the leads in that, along with Sandia. But we've got the WIP site. We've got Urenco, major employers in southern New Mexico. How do we work with those groups? How do we look at the reality of what's happening with the challenges with the seismic activity, the produced water? A lot of these challenges are things that are not things we can't overcome, but there's funding available for us now to address those issues in a collective and collaborative manner. And I think New Mexico is just ideally positioned, not just in terms of our resources, but in terms of our size. When I talk to our colleagues in other states, they're really baffled at how we can pick up the phone and call each other in the state of New Mexico and gather people together and work together very quickly. They're still trying to figure out how to get into a public school. We just walk across the street and do those things. So we take advantage of our collaboration, and we quit apologizing for our ability to network because we're phenomenal at it. Thank you.